Okay, similar triangles. Uh, First, I'm going to start with our congruency shortcuts. You guys remember those? You don't remember side, side, side?
They all look the same to me, like the SSA and SAS.
Remember how you had basically, if you had two triangles and all the corresponding sides were congruent, then what could you say about the two triangles? They had to be congruent, right? Okay. And then there was what? Side angle side. And that was, remember there were two sides and then the included what? Angle. So it had to be the angle in between, did it not? Get your note.
Oh, I left the note. You want me to go get it?
That's angle, side angle. Okay, so that means you got angle, then the side, and then the angle. Angle, side, and then the angle. And then there was angle, angle, side. I know that's not very legible, but I think at this point we should know what the acronyms, what the letters represent, right? Remember, that was two angles and then the non-included side. Okay? The reason I bring these up is because we are going to learn some shortcuts for similarity. And we're going to use the same lingo, except instead of, when we put nothing behind it, we understand that side, side, side congruency. Now we're going to learn some similarity shortcuts. Shortcut number one. Angle, angle, and then you'll see this beside it. What do you think that means? This stands for angle, angle, and then what does that sign mean? Similarity. As I told you guys, first of the year, mathematicians are lazy. Dylan. What are you doing? Sit up, sit back. Thank you. If you really try to listen, it'll probably help you stay awake. If you really try to get involved in it, things like that, it'll help you. Now, angle, angle, similarity. What do you think that means? What are the think about it, what we talked about similarity yesterday. The angles are what in similar triangles? Are they equal or are they proportional? Which one's proportional, which ones are equal? Angles are congruent. Sides are what? Proportional. Okay. So, if I'm saying angle, angle, similarity, I'm probably saying like that angle's congruent to this angle, and then what? If this is so, then the triangles are what? Similar. So that's pretty easy. That's a pretty good shortcut, isn't it? So basically, if you find that two sets of angles in two triangles, this is just triangles now, are congruent, then you can say what? Those two triangles have to be what? Similar. The next one. What does that mean? Side, side, side. Similarity. Now, I am going to use some words here. What do you think? Here's the thing. This one was pretty easy to explain because we're talking about congruency, though. But the sides are congruent here. So what do you think this is referring to? The sides being what? Okay, so if all three sets of sides are what? Proportional, then the triangles are what? Similar. All three sets of, and I should say corresponding. Okay. Let's draw a picture again here. See if I can not mess it up this time. No, I did. When we say similar, what am I saying? Well, I'm saying that AB over what corresponds to AB? XY has got to be the same or equal to what? BC over what? Because now I've got two sets proportional, right? And then if it turns out that this ratio here, which is AC over what? XZ, if those two are the same, all three of these ratios end up being the same scale factor, then what can I say? Then triangle what? ABC is similar to triangle what? XYZ. Correct? Now what I'm going to do is use the squiggly lines from now on to where we just draw a picture, but one time we needed to talk about, like I said, it's obvious, we know what the marks up in the number 1 mean. That means that those two angles are what? Congruent. You have two sets of corresponding angles congruent, then you know the two triangles are similar. But also, if you have three sets of what? Proportional sides, in other words, they all make the same ratio, correct? Then you know that they have to be similar. Well, guess what? We have a third thing. And that's what? Side, angle, side, but what? Similarity. Here's the deal here. What's significant about, you guys remember what being a big deal where, when you mix S's and A's, where they're located? What am I saying here? Why is the A in between the two S's? It's the included. Two proportional sets of sides, and the included angles are what? Congruent. What's included? Well, that means the one in between, correct? Finally do it right. Now, let's look at this. And everybody stop for a second. I'll let you guys write this down. Two proportional sets of sides. So what am I saying? Okay, let's say if it was this one and this one. I'm saying those two are proportional, right? And then I prove that those two are proportional. They're the same ratio. Which angle would it have to be? Top left, top right, bottom? It would, the angle congruent would have to be the top right, and that's the only possible one there, because that's the angle what? Included angle. Remember that, because the A is in between the two S's, right? The rest of this section goes on to talk about how similarity is reflexive, it's symmetric, and it's transitive. Okay? That's not... All right, so now get this written down. I'll freeze this and then get your red books out. So now let's apply these facts, apply these concepts. We're going to start on page 87 with number 1. So you can start looking over those directions while if you're done with writing that down, while some of you are writing it down. It says determine whether each pair of triangles is similar. If so, write the similarity statement. If not, what would be sufficient to prove the triangle's similar? And then explain. So what you basically need to do is, if they are similar, write the similarity statement, and I want you to put by. Remember we used to do that with congruency, say by side, 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 or side, angle, side, so on and so on. So looking at number 1, we have to look, and once again, just like when we did the others, you kind of need to look at these with the idea, okay, what are my possible shortcuts? Angle, angle, what? Similarity. Side, angle, side, similarity. And what? Side, 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 what? Similarity. So those are our possibilities. So let's look at number 1. Number 1, it's given to me. They didn't even have to give this to me because these are what kind of angles? Anybody? Vertical angles. Now here's what's going to confuse you guys a little bit. Sometimes it helps to realize, okay, if that's X, what are they saying this side has to be? If this one's different because it's got 2 marks, right? If that's Y, what's this got to be? Now, here's the deal. If this corresponds to this, does X over Y have to equal X over Y? Tell me a number that you could put in for X or Y that would make that not true. Can you guys tell me one? Point being, you know that those two have to be proportional, don't they? Because no matter what you put in for X, whatever you put in the top left there for X, what's going to be on the top right? Exact same thing, correct? Whatever you put right here, if you put a 5 here, what are you going to get here? If you decide to put 12, Y's 12, what's going to be here? Dylan? Dylan, stop. You better fall asleep sitting straight up. Do not put your hands on the desk. That or I'll make you stand and do notes. Something. I'll make you stand. I may make you do the podium over there. I'm just trying to help you out, Bubba. Maybe we stand on the podium.
If you want to make me stand up, I'm totally fine with that.
Okay, let's just try, Bubba. We'll figure it out. If you want to do it, you can do it, but let's just try to pay attention. Now, right here. So you guys see how these proportions are equal? And then we've got an angle, right? So is this, which one would be, are these two similar? So triangle TSR is similar to triangle XSW by, can you guys tell me which one? Side, angle, side. And it is important that you put what? The similarity, because if you just put SAS, it's understood to be what? Congruency. And we're not saying they're congruent, are we? We're saying they're similar. Everybody struggles with this when they don't put a number, right? But if it helps you put a number, 5, 5, 10, that one would then have to be 10. Is 5 over 10 equal to 5 over 10? then you could keep changing it, and you'd see that that proportion, that those are proportional, okay? So that's how you do that one. This next one, do I know anything about the angles? Other than that they add to 180, I don't know anything. So which one am I probably shooting for up here? So I just need to figure out if in any way these are similar. And there are different possibilities here. But here's what you can, if you got, it's sometimes hard to figure out what corresponds to what here when you've got ones like this. But this one, in what way have they made it kind of easy? You know the 12, there's two 12s, right? If there's any correspondence over here and the ratios are going to be equal, there's got to be two congruent ones over here too, didn't there? So the 12s correspond with the what? So basically, is 9 over 12 equal to 9 over 12? And is that equal to 6 over 8? That's our question. If it is, then what? They're similar. How can we do this? A bunch of different ways. If you're good with fractions, 3 goes into that what? 3, 4. 3, 4. 2 goes into that what? 3, 2 goes into that what? Do they all reduce the same? Or you could have simply put each of those into your calculator, go 9 divided by 12, and you would have gotten what? 0.75. 9 divided by 12, 0.75. 6 divided by 8, we would have gotten 0.75. So you would have known they're all equivalent. Therefore, triangle ABC is similar, and I put it in corresponding order. Yep, QPR. By what? Side, 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 what? Similarity. And as you can see, this can get a little tricky, maybe, but it's not too bad. It's just you have to understand the concept and really pay attention to what you've been given. Right here, what have I been given here? One angle and two sides. What am I shooting for up here? Okay. You already know you got the angle, right? And is the angle included between the other two sides you have measures for? So you have a chance for side angle side. All you got to do is see if they're what? Proportional. Now, how do you know which one goes with which? Okay, one is smaller than the other, right? So the smaller over here has to correspond to the what? Smaller over here. So 10 over what? 15 would have to equal what? 14 over 21. Now, when you're just having two of these, do you guys remember the other way that you can cross multiply if you rather do that to see if they're equal? 210, what's 15 times 14? So, are these two proportional? Yes, they are. Therefore, triangle TSU is similar to triangle, let's see, went TSU, so PJM, by what? Side, angle, side, similarity. Not so terrible, is it? They might try to throw you off here. Right here, they've only given you information about, and I'll zoom out and freeze it for a second, okay? And then I may post this screenshot. I'll post a screenshot on Canvas. What have they kind of done here to kind of, they've given you, two angles, and they haven't given you anything about the sides, but they only given you one of them congruent. Should you stop right now and say, it can't be similar? No, you might as well figure out what the third side is in each one, correct? If that's 90, that's 60, what's left for this to be? If that's 30, that's 90, what's left for this to be? So what do you have here? 30, 60, 90 triangle, these have to be similar. So triangle MSK is similar to triangle, that would be QRT, by what? Angle similarity. We didn't know anything about the sides, correct?
We can't go right now, are we done?
We're not done. Okay. Now, what do you think these are going to be? Identify the similar triangles, then find each measure. So they want you to identify the similar triangles. So you're going to have to identify what corresponds with what. Okay? So, what corresponds with the 15? 12. So what proportion is going to be made here? We could go 15 over 12 is equal to what? Now, if I put 15 on top, what has to be on top on the other one? Over x plus 1. Don't get lazy on me, people. You can multiply through here, but make sure you multiply both of them. 15x times 15, but also 15 times what? 1, right? So I get 15 is equal to, well, that'd be 12x plus, well, I have to multiply the 12 also times the what? 5, so I get 60. Subtract 12x from both sides. That would give me a 3x over here, correct? I don't want, so I want this 15 gone, don't I? Subtract 15 from both sides, leaving what? X is equal to? Please do not go through all of this work, circle this, and say, I'm done. ACT test, end of instruction test, guess what one of the A, B, or C, or D is going to be? 15. You're going to circle 15, and guess what? Your only mistake was not paying attention to detail and not seeing what the question actually asked for. They asked for what? The distance from A to C, which the distance from A to C is actually x plus 1. So instead of the answer being 15, the actual is 16. Okay? And they do that to you on purpose to make sure you are paying attention to detail, because that is a skill that you need to learn with math. But at the same time, it is just a shame to understand this concept well enough to do that and go through all that and then miss it. Because, you know, always take the time, okay, am I answering what they're asking? Okay, I want to look at number 7 and then we'll be done. Big reason I want to look at number 7 is, guys, these are kind of hard for this reason. When you're figuring out what corresponds to what, how are you going to do that here? You've got a triangle inside of another triangle. My suggestion to you for right now, until you get used to this, is come over here, and what am I doing? I'm redrawing them what? Separately. Yeah, so what's this quantity right here? What's this quantity? X plus 5, right. What's this quantity? What's this quantity? You don't really know, do you? You just know part of it is what? Well, I don't know that that's x necessarily. If I wanted to make that y, I could say it's 9 plus y, but that's an unknown quantity that we don't necessarily know is the same as x. My question to you guys is, what's this side? Travis, what do you think? What's this side right here? Absolutely right. He said it's 9 plus x plus 5, which would basically be x plus what? But do you see how, looking at that, you're probably going to try to go 9 and x plus 5 and blah, blah, you know. But that's not the actual side. Now, we'll learn later on that you actually could have done that if you were doing with these two. But you can't when you're dealing with that. When we start talking about proportional parts, but we're talking about similar triangles, not proportional parts here. So we have to have everything. So right here, when I'm making an equation to solve for x, what is my equation? What corresponds to the 6? What corresponds to the, then what it needs to be on top here? X plus 5, but what's on bottom? I'll see all kinds of people put 9 down there, okay, and make that mistake. and you will get the incorrect answer. Do you see why that's hard? Or why that's something you just gotta think about? For some people, I can separate those two in my mind easily. Some people, you can't, they're just, other people's, everybody's mind works differently. If you're one of those people that needs to see it, then you redraw it and think about what's happening. Now we're just gonna cross multiply 6x plus, what's 6 times 14? Is equal to 12x plus, well, we got 60 again, right? I would subtract 6x to keep my x positive, which would have me, what, 6x over here? So then I'd need to subtract 60, so I didn't have anything else left over there. So x is what? 4? What does Canvas say your assignment is? I want to remind you guys again to use Canvas. Huh? Oh, yes.
I thought you missed it on the ACT.
See, I missed it on the ACT there, trying to be in a hurry to get you guys done, because I know we're getting close to the end of the time. I'm in a hurry, and what did I do? I didn't finish the problem, though. What did they actually ask for? E to H. It's x plus 5, so it's what? 9. It should be. Go to the calendar.
Oh no, because this like my lock button stopped working. It's messing up my phone and it go off.
Guys.
Well, depending on how many
Hold on.
problems I got done this chapter, I did. And I just wondered if it's better to be better than it would tomorrow.
Okay. What does the assignment say? Did you guys find? 1 through 24. Write problems, draw figures, show all steps, and work. All right?